Ironically, there's some really smart entrepreneurs out there. And one of them came to me and said, I created this software where I can put your patents in it. And with AI, it's going to go out on the web and see who's infringing on it. So you can go talk to them about either licensing or partnering, and not slap on the wrist, but more like collaboration.
That seems really effective, because right now you got to search for who's infringing and you can't even find them all. Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. All right, guys, got Lee Richter here. She's known me for a while. You saw the early
Since
stages.
you were a teenager.
18, right? That's a long time.
I'm watching you grow up, and I'm watching you not only do great, impactful work, but you're adulting faster than anyone I've ever seen.
I like that
you're
word.
doing real amazing work as an adult, not as like learning on the job, but actually applying on the job. So Thank you for being a pioneer that way, because it's inspiring for all of us.
Likewise. I mean, you're crushing it with what you do too. Can't wait to dive into it. You got a lot of patents.
I have patents. It's amazing how when you protect your work, it becomes contagious. There's more and more. We do patent harvesting sessions.
What's up?
I go with my attorney on the top floor of his building in Boston, Massachusetts, and we sit and just run ideas by each other. And we whiteboard it. And I'll go in there thinking, maybe I have 2 or 3 patent ideas. I've come out of there with 20.
Holy crap.
In one harvest session, because the way I think of it and the way they think of it are 2 different ways. And they want to protect it in many ways. And I'm thinking one linear, and they're like, wait, and this, and this, and this. And so their talent plus my knowledge and ideas becomes a perfect match.
That's cool. Has someone ever offered money for one of your patents?
We're working on that right now. I'm looking for the perfect partners. I have several that have been passed even this year, some from last year.
Nice.
And so, right now, that's what we're doing. Ironically, there's some really smart entrepreneurs out there. And one of them came to me and said, I created this software where I can put your patents in it. And with AI, it's going to go out on the web and see who's infringing on it. So you can go talk to them about either licensing or partnering, and let them know they've had it for free up until now. But what could we do here in the future? And not slap on the wrist, but more like collaboration.
That seems really effective, because right now you got to search for who's infringing and you can't even find them all. But with AI.
This is one of my favorite things. My friend Nick Sonnenberg brought me the expert. He's someone always looking out for the next trend and how to be really efficient in technology. He's one of my secret weapons and ace in the hole, because he's always on the forefront of what's next. He'll do the work. He might test 3, 4, 5 SaaS models, and then he'll tell me which one to use. So I'm very fortunate he brought me that software, because it's changing the way I'm bringing the patents out to the world.
Yeah. And you're going heavy in the AI space too, right?
I am, because honestly, you might as well be in it, 'cause it's here. And in my generation, a lot of people are really fearful of joining it, and they're scared of it.
Yep.
And I want to let them know if I can do it, they can do it. And let's all the generations be involved together.
Yeah.
Every one of us. Don't leave anyone behind. Don't leave anyone 7-year-olds behind, and don't leave anyone 70 behind. Bring everyone with us. And so this is one way of doing it is I participate, and then I show others that it's safe for them to participate too.
I love that. I'm really careful with fear these days. It's a low vibrational state, and it can
Very much
affect your judgment.
Interestingly enough, being in judgment actually is a fear-based emotion.
Wow.
I've learned even vulnerability is a fear-based emotion. There's actually a chart, it's a wheel, and it shows 6 different reasons that we have emotions, right? We have happy, we have angry, we have, one of them is fear, right? And I've learned to look for the things that take me more in happy and away from fear. For example, vulnerability comes from fear, but openness comes from happy. So I'm like, you can start being more open and optimistic, and now you're in the frequency of happy rather than being in vulnerability and feeling fear.
Right.
So it's the same feeling to me, being vulnerable and being open, but one leads me on a path of a frequency of happy. So I'm going to go that path every time. And I'm starting to teach other people. A friend of ours, I think you're friends with Gary Trupik.
Yeah.
And he and I have been explaining, he came to my house, and one of the things we did was play around with this, because when I was coaching him and mentoring him, I asked him to be vulnerable about something. And he went from really, really strong to bent over and weak. And I could see in that moment, fear entered that wasn't there before.
Right.
And so we explored this and looked on the wheel. And we said, what else would be the same thing, but take us a different path? And as soon as we did open and optimistic, he was blossoming. I'm like, wow, there's something to this.
Oh, yeah.
And now I've done it with about 15 people since. That exact same thing, like taking them from a vulnerable state to an open state and just seeing them blossom rather than constrict.
I love that.
The frequency of the word is actually very important. Something I talk about on a regular basis. It sounds woo-woo, but it's really like 4,000 years of principles about energy.
There's something there for sure. Because I used to watch the news every day growing up, and I had a lot of fear. And my parents got divorced, so I had fear with dating and relationships. And I look at my life now, and I've eliminated most of my fears, and it's just a lot better.
Because you're also surrounding yourself with people who have a hope for a better future. As leaders, that's the number one thing we can do for our community, is give the people that follow us hope for a better future. And what you're doing is you're connecting with leaders and you're distilling the important things to think about, right? There might be 100 things on the list when you start a conversation, but at the end, you're like, well, there's 2 or 3 we're really going to focus on. And when you start doing that, now you're making an impact on the things that are important to you.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that's part of this adulting stage that we're in, is choosing what we say a discerning yes for and what we say a discerning no for.
Yeah.
Right. And so part of what you've learned is your hell yes is really helping you to grow your brand and grow your audience, because when you're behind it and your frequency is behind it and your energy is behind it, it's going to soar.
Yeah, it's night and day difference for sure. So I'm a huge Notre Dame fan.
Yes.
So when I saw Lou Holtz was your mentor, I was like, holy crap, that's awesome.
He was my first mentor. I worked at the Twin Towers with Merrill Lynch in Washington, D.C., and my very first mentor was Lou Holtz. I had him for 2 whole years.
Oh.
There were 50 of us that worked with him. And things that he taught me then still ring true today. And about 3 years ago, I got to spend time with him at Harvey McKay's house, and who's his best friend. And he happened to be there. I didn't even know he was going to be there. And we reminisced about what it was like.
He remembered you?
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. It was a very intense class for 2 years. He was resetting our mindset around money stories.
Wow.
I was working at Merrill Lynch. I was one of the first group that they were putting through the CFP licensing, which is Certified Financial Planners. And they wanted us to make sure we had money stories based on.
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
Abundance, not based on lack. And a lot of people's money stories growing up from their parents, unfortunately, or grandparents, or basically their entire family, a lot of them are like, money's the root of all evil, or money doesn't grow on trees, or who do you think you are? Get your head out of the clouds, like all these little stories. And what happened over the 2 years with Lou is we each would put those stories in the middle. Everyone in the group put their money stories in there. And then one by one, we dispelled them and we made them untrue.
Wow.
And I see now, decades later, I'm the oldest of 7 children. And I think so differently than the other 6. They're still in the family money stories. They don't even know they're in it because it's just the way that they're operating. Me, I changed it at the age of 21. And now I see decades later the difference in just the mindset around being in abundance or being in victim mindset, just around money.
Yeah.
I see it with holistic doctors a lot, because a lot of holistic doctors that I work with, both business and personal, they have this mindset of, I'm doing this for the goodness of the planet. I'm not doing it for the money.
Right.
And they'll say, I'm not doing it for the money. And then money's like, well, let me go somewhere else where they appreciate me more. And so a lot of these holistic doctors are doing great work, but either not enough people know about them or they don't have enough money to help enough people. And so I like to go in and help them with their mindset of, wow, as I make more money, I actually have more capacity to help more people. And just shifting that, just like Lou Holtz did with me. And I think everyone at 21 should go through a course around rewiring their thoughts around money for their best future self.
Right.
Because maybe some of the things we learned from our family were just to get by while we were growing up with them, but doesn't mean we have to take those same lessons into our future.
Yeah.
Why not take the lessons that help you win and have a better life?
Absolutely.
You know, this morning as I was in the shower getting ready to be here, I recited my daily affirmations, and they're abundant affirmations. And some of them are so much fun. Like, I deserve to be healthy, wealthy, and happy. Wealth comes to me easily. My money bucket is expanding daily. A part of all I earn is mine to keep. Like, each one plays on something. And I love it when I get to say, everything that comes to me is to help others as well. It doesn't just mean just for me. It means the more that comes to me, the more I have in abundance to share with others. And I think the more that we see it that way, the more we're in flow.
Agreed.
And I feel it.
Agreed. You need a certain level of influence and money to really get across what you want, right?
And having a healthy relationship. Like, think about money as another relationship. And it's one you want to welcome. It's one you want to say, thank you for serving me. Now go out in the world, multiply and come back. Give it a job. When I sign a credit card bill, and I actually have friends I've taught this to that tell me they still do this. I sign a credit card bill or I pay something with cash. I say to the money, thank you for serving me. Now go out in the world. Come back to me multiplied. And I've practiced it. I remember when my husband, Gary, was turning 40. He just turned 54. So this is 14 years ago. And when he turned 40, I bought him a 1962 MG convertible. And it was $13,000. I bought it at the Volvo dealership. And I thought, oh, how cool is this? He and Abby, our daughter, can have daddy-daughter time and go for a ride and just have the two of them. And I just thought it was so cute, right? So I buy him this 1962 MG convertible. I pay $13,000 cash. Literally 2 days later, $56,000 coming into my account. Unexpected. It was a dividend from something. And of course, it was exactly 4 times. So I could not look away. And that was when I was starting to really practice at a higher level, like go out into the world, come back to me multiplied. I've been doing it more and more since. And I got to say, the more I pay attention to it, respect money, thank it, put it in play in my life, but also give it a purpose, the more it's showing up.
Yeah, gratitude, giving, it all comes back, karma, right?
And sometimes you have to invest in yourself. And it might seem like a lot at the time. Like, I remember the first time I paid a mentor out of my own pocket. It was like probably $25,000. I think it was Joe Polish and the Genius Network. And $25,000 to me was a car. It was a lot of money. But in the end, it opened so many doors. It opened so many new relationships. He did the credentialing of everyone in the room. So everyone in the room was worth knowing and still is. And I'm just so grateful things like that exist because I could practice the skills in a safe environment that way. I could practice the skills of, hey, 10 of my friends, hey, let's practice these money situations. Go out in the world, come back to me multiplied. Does it work for you too? Now we have like people we can actually have those conversations with. It's safe, it's fun, and we can multiply it.
There's something there with masterminds. I know we were part of one that was 100K a year. I'm in one now that's 72K a year. And every time I go to the event, I come back so much better.
Hey, wait, talk about the one we were in 100K a year. Do you remember we were at Justin Bieber's house?
Yeah.
We're hanging out with Dan Fleischman, who's one of my favorite people on the planet. And he's responsible for us knowing each other. So I want to thank him for that.
So many people because of him.
And we're having a little conversation and some business ideas, and you get an idea and run with it, right? So was it worth it to be in that mastermind? Was it worth it to listen? Was it worth it to apply and then go make something that never would have existed if you didn't have those pieces?
Yeah.
I love that I got to witness that with you. I think a year later, we were in an NFT conference in Los Angeles, and you were telling me about all the great things that happened since that meeting. And so many, were you just building things that you made up?
Even today, people from that mastermind, I still do business with and talk to.
And because of that mastermind, you and I are here right now. And because of Dan Fleischman having a big heart and so many great connections and so generous, we get to, keep basking in that glory.
Yep. I've modeled a lot of my stuff out there, Dan.
I still am too. And I'm so grateful for him. I was just with him. He asked me to be a mentor at the 100 Million Mastermind. So the last couple meetings, I was able to go as a mentor. I was able to support him as much as he wanted. I don't care what he asked for. I'm going to say yes to it. Right. But we went to his farm in Temecula and just watching how he treats his animals and how he and his team really care about them made me actually adore him even more because he's showing up and really caring. Like, he's buying organic food for the animals. Most people would go and beg for like leftovers or a restaurant to share stuff. He's doing the opposite. They're going and buying the best food for their animals. They're taking the best care. They really, really care about it. And when I saw how much behind the scenes this was making him happy, it just made me, it humanized him even more. It really showed like his heart is so big.
I watch how people treat animals because there's something pure about it,
And I have veterinary hospitals, and my husband's the #1 veterinarian in America.
Wow.
He won #1 veterinarian in America, chosen for holistic medicine in 2019.
I'm looking for a holistic vet, actually.
It changed everything for us.
Yeah, I'm going to contact you about that.
He's phenomenal. I've known him since, 1988. We met in the Bahamas on spring break.
Wow.
Right, way back. And yeah, we've been together over 30 years. We're in our 4th decade.
That's beautiful.
And all he ever wanted to do is be a great veterinarian. And him learning holistic is what made him a great veterinarian, because he learned how to integrate Eastern and Western medicine. And I think that's what we need to do for ourselves as well.
For sure.
And I think you're having a guest on next who's a woman holistic doctor. And I can't wait to hear her interview, because I'm looking for someone just like her.
Yeah.
And I have had some male doctors do that, but I think women see a little differently around hormones. And so I want to add a woman to the mix. So I'm so grateful that you have someone coming on the show that I can now meet, because I know if they went through your credentials, they're awesome.
I'm about it. The holistic way is my way these days. No more vaccines for me. I got so many growing up. And I just got a blood test last week. I still have damage from those vaccines.
It can happen.
It's crazy. And my dogs have gotten like 20 each. And they're like, one of them's 30 pounds.
See, one of our things is we do very low amounts of vaccines, only what's necessary. And that was the first thing we did in holistic, was change vaccine protocols way back. Only when they need it. And not just because it's prescribed, but we look at each case individually for that reason.
It's important.
It's very important. And if it's your own kid or your own pet, you really want to have the right advice and do the least amount that you have to do to keep them healthy.
For sure. Growing up, we didn't question it. We just got them to go to school. We needed to. But look at how many they're giving kids now and the quantity. It's crazy.
And we don't know everything. And I think the only times that I had mercury show up was because of that.
Yeah, I had that too. I still have some liver damage from it.
My liver actually was okay, and I'm really glad, because sometimes it's water, sometimes it's vodka, sometimes it's tequila. But that's another thing to really pay attention to is alcohol is like the new smoking, and sitting is the new smoking, and processed meats are the new smoking. Like everything around us.
I cut processed meat. I used to love a cold sandwich. Oh man. Wegmans meat.
Yes.
Ooh.
When you come to Oakland, I will take you to a place that they do their own and it's not processed, and it's mind blowing how good it can be.
I love that, because I miss
Cuban there is worth it.
Yeah, I miss it, but I just can't.
When you come visit me, it's right next door to the Grand Lake Theater, if anyone wants to know, and it's worth the hour wait if you have to wait. They make every one of their meats themselves. Usually it's a 24-hour process, and you taste the difference as soon as you have it.
Nice. Can't wait. So was that 13,000 car the one you got in that accident with?
No. The car accident. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. I was actually driving to see a friend of mine in Monterey, California, and it was 2001. And someone crossed a double yellow line, hit me head on. It was 120 mile an hour impact. I was going about 60. They were going about 60 head on. I took the impact, broke a lot of bones.
15 bones, right?
It was more than 15. We stopped counting at 15, but it was 15 major ones, like both my ankles, my knees, my femur. My L1 on my back, which is extraordinary because 93% of the population would be paralyzed where my back was broken.
Damn.
And I was part of the 7% that could still walk again, which is a miracle.
Wow.
And I've met other people in wheelchairs that broke the same bone and they cannot believe I'm walking because they're in it. A lot of them are football players, and the L1 is like right in the center of the back. So mine was crushed and I had a back brace on. I didn't walk for a year. And this is how Gary, my husband, learned holistic medicine. Is while I was in the hospital, he started learning it to put me back together.
Wow.
I had a team of 13 doctors. I was being sent to Stanford, and in the air, they actually rerouted me to San Jose because there was one doctor in the country that could save my right ankle.
Holy crap.
It was literally hanging by just the blood supply, which is like a little thread.
Jeez.
And he did 5 surgeries and saved it. And the first day I thought, everyone who found me thought for sure that was going to be gone. It literally was just hanging by one little tiny thread. And my husband saw it and he said, that's not good. But we went through 5 surgeries and we went through a lot of physical therapy, and he learned holistic medicine. He brought in things in the hospital for me, like magnet therapy and acupuncture and things that they weren't doing back then, and got special permission. And I was in the hospital for almost a year. It was like a very long time. For me to sit still that long is almost impossible.
Yeah, you're high energy.
And that year is when the Twin Towers came down, and my first job was in the Twin Towers.
Jeez.
And I knew a lot of people that were there, and It was pretty emotional time. I couldn't do anything but lay in bed.
Wow.
There wasn't Netflix back then.
Yeah.
There wasn't
my
the
gosh.
same things.
You had to sit there and just stare at the wall for a year.
Pretty much. And it was only regular TV. We could rent movies and put it on the computer, and we did that. We were constantly renting movies, but I can only watch a couple a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pretty much in the hospital recovering. I learned how much resilience I have at that level. I think it was a test for myself to just really work hard at living. And then once I lived, now every day is even more important.
What a journey.
Kind of on bonus time.
Yeah, you didn't even know if you could walk again.
And on top of it, I got so blessed that we have a daughter, Abby, that came 3 years later. We adopted her.
Oh, wow.
Because of where my back is broken. They said, don't even think about it. You will be paralyzed if you get pregnant.
Really?
So that did change a few things. But I call Abby like my gift from the car accident. She's such a gift that I never would have been matched with her unless I went through this. And since I did, everything makes sense.
Beautiful.
They always say at the end, you could look back and see the gems or the things, even through challenging experiences. You can look back and see the things, and there are glaring things that came out that were gifts. And one is me exercising my entrepreneurship even more. Because I was in the hospital for that long, I realized how much more I needed to get back to the world.
Right, because you were a corporate back then, right?
I actually had my own company, and I had 3 corporations as clients, but my husband was working for someone else, 14-hour shifts, 5 nights a week, making like $70,000 a year in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Me, I had 3 clients a month, 20 hours each, that's 60 hours a month. And I was making $30,000 a month.
Wow.
So it was a big difference between him and me. And
you were probably happier too.
Well, it didn't matter where the money came in from, but what mattered is that I wanted to see him have a better future. And I realized unless he had his own practice, he couldn't do what he wanted. And when he came in the hospital, there was a few times that he was like, wow, this person came in with a pet and I really wanted to help them, but they didn't have enough money and the practice wouldn't let me help them. But my oath is to the pet. I was like, well, the only way you could do that is having your own practice. And so one of the things that came out of my accident was him seeing he had to go the entrepreneurial route to be a better doctor.
Yeah.
Because if he was working for someone else, he has to do what they do. But because he had his own hospital, now he could have a pet and wildlife fund and help people in need. Now he could integrate holistic medicine. So it just changed everything. While he went through the car accident with me, he learned better skills to help animals.
That's beautiful. 2 entrepreneurs dating. That's rare.
He wasn't an entrepreneur then.
Yeah.
He was a medicine man and the talent, I say. I was the entrepreneur, but he's turning into an entrepreneur now in a really big and beautiful way.
Yeah. You said he's the #1 holistic vet?
The #1 vet in America. He was chosen by the veterinary, they call it the Council of Elders. And so he didn't even know he was on the list. And frankly, when he won, he was 49 years old. Most of the people that win that, they only pick one practitioner a year. A holistic practitioner a year. And usually they're like in their 60s or 70s and they've been doing this for years. He was 49. He didn't even know they knew his name. So when they called him, he was shocked. It took him about 6 months to actually own it, that people saw him like that. He didn't just, hey, look at me. He was more like, oh my God, they know who I am. What do I do now? He got a little more like mellow and humble and actually just kept adding to his education and adding to his education. And now we've partnered with Craig Clemens in 2015 with Golden Hippo. And now he's got over 40 products and he has 3 books from Hay House. And all these things happen after that car accident and him learning holistic at a new level.
Yeah.
And because of that, now he's a different veterinarian than almost any other veterinarian on the planet because he can see animals differently. He can see like where a cardiologist might say this animal only has 6 months to live. He's had cases where the cardiologist might say that, but then he gets it. And now they're 7 years later.
Whoa.
Because he'll do things like hyperbaric oxygen. He'll do stem cell therapy. He'll add things like brain octane. He'll do things differently. And now what he's seeing is like, even with animals, you can do a ketonic diet, no sugar, no carbs, which I want to tell everyone, if your pet is 7 or older, no sugar, no carbs, please, because it feeds cancer cells. And as they come out, which they have them in their body, but if they become active and you're feeding it with carbs and sugar, then you're making the cancer grow faster.
Wow.
So just, especially at 7, because they're basically turning senior citizen at 7, which is hard for us to think of them as senior citizens when they're that young. But I tell my clients, 7 and older, do not give them bread. Do not give them rice. Do not give them table scraps. Just give them greens and protein, and you will see them have a healthier life. And
Beautiful.
we just had a cat live to 23.
Holy crap.
And part of it is we did stem cells for her. We did hyperbaric oxygen for her. We loved her. We gave her the best food. 23 is amazing for a cat. And she was a rescue cat. We didn't get her till she was about 10.
Dang.
So we didn't even have her in the beginning. But she picked the right place to go because she picked the veterinarian. And the veterinarian literally gave her the longest life that I could expect. And at 16, we thought we were going to lose her. So look at all those extra years just from doing holistic medicine.
The stats on cancer in dogs is nuts. It's like 1 in 2 right now.
But part of the reason is we changed our food system back in the 1970s to include a thing called kibble, which is that little crunchy dog food that you usually see.
Yeah.
Now, when you put everything in and you have the ingredient list, it might look good. But then when you heat it up to the temperatures that you need to do to make it into kibble, you lose that nutrients. You lose a lot of that. And they're not testing it on the outside when it's finished. They're testing it before it goes in. So Craig Clemens actually worked with Gary around how do we create food that's not that way and actually helps with longevity. Because if you look at the average length of how pets live, back before the 1970s, they were living an average of 18 years.
Damn.
Now, since we added this new food in the kibble, the average is 13 years. What changed the most? The food system. Just like with people. It's the same with us. We're going to the shopping center and we're getting all this stuff that somebody else boxed and put away for us that is not good for us. It's hurting America.
Right.
The best thing to do is farm to table, as close to the source as possible. Well, it's the same for animals. As close to the source as possible. If you can do greens and protein and no carbs and sugar, they're going to have unless something happens otherwise, they're going to have a healthier life.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're hit by a car or they're lost or a fox comes and gets them, that's not going to be in the story.
That,
But if you're just doing based on nutrition, you do want to look at giving them the best food possible. Sometimes that kibble is like giving them McDonald's every day, but they don't have a vote to say that they want that.
I got to stop giving them kibble. What do you give your dogs on?
Well, we have our food, which is through Craig Clements. It's ultimatedoghealth.com. And it's a freeze-dried protein food, and you just mix it with some water. It's great for travel, too. I actually used it for travel recently. And then there's another one I love called the Farmer's Dog. I love how they send it.
They just reached out to sponsor.
Absolutely include them. I think it's a great company. My husband met the owner years and years ago. They spoke on a TV show together. And I like the way they care. And they're so funny because even their packaging, when they send it to you, they care. But when they send the packaging, it says, if you don't like this or your dog doesn't like it, send it back to us. We'll eat it ourselves. And I just like the way they're silly but fun, but very much effective. And they really care too. They're like you and they're like my husband, Gary. Like they want to do a good job. Not just look at profits, not just look at growth, but look at impact.
I love that. What else are you working on right now?
Well, mostly the patents.
Okay.
My daughter, who's 19 and in college, I'm planning a summer trip with her to Portugal, possibly Spain. And then with our friends, I'm going to Budapest. So I have a few good trips coming up. And then with our friend Gary, we're doing some masterminds. He and I have been doing Game Plan for Life, which is phenomenal. He does great work with that. And we thought, what if we did it for each other and then invite some people to come with us? And so we're doing a couple masterminds, one in Maui and one in Japan.
Whoa.
And we'll invite 10 people on those. And so that's super fun. It's something that Gary and I want to do anyway, and everyone wants to work with him. So I'm like, why don't we do it? We can invite a few people. They can come along, and it'll be more fun for us.
Yeah, sounds like a blast. You believe connection matters more than anything.
Absolutely. I learned that from a friend of mine, Jesse, many, many years ago. He used to end the meeting. Connection matters more than anything. And I just believe that it's technology connection, it's people connection, it's connection to ourselves, it's connection to the meaning, connection to the moment, connection to the mentoring. Like it's so many different ways that we could look for connections. And ironically, you know, recently in the Bay Area, everyone's microdosing mushrooms. It is a big thing. And I've been doing mushrooms since my 20s because I went to a lot of Grateful Dead shows. I'm actually grateful to my husband for that. I actually told him recently, I'm like, hey, Gary, you know what? I want to say thank you for helping my brain expand in my 20s. Because in the beginning, I used to think he was corrupting my brain because I trusted him so much. He's in medicine. And actually, he was helping me expand my brain and fill it with love. And now looking back, I could see, wow, how powerful that is. I'm seeing a lot of my friends right now in their 40s and 50s doing their first mushroom journey. And it's taking me back to when I was in my 20s. And I'm like, wow, that was really opening my mind. That was really expanding, but it was making new connections. They have shown that. I had a PhD out of San Francisco at my house recently, and he was showing under mushrooms all the new connections that happen in your brain the following 7 to 14 days.
Whoa.
And so you have to even think about integration for 14 days after. How do you keep your brain optimized and as positive and powerful as possible? So what I've done now is when I have those events, they're scheduled, a PhD comes in and leads it. 4 people led the last one. We had 10 people participate. But at the end, we did intentional integration. And now I realize like how important it is for us to expand our brain, but also to be open to things, but also to be very careful of what goes in it, curating the things that are most powerful.
Yeah.
Marshall Silver took me on stage and had me eat fire. Were you there that
No.
100 Million Mastermind? We're still talking about it because I'm still like, I can't believe I ate fire on stage in front of like all these people. But Marshall Silver invited me up and he taught me it's not really negative and positive. It's like pause on the negative, like negative feelings or negative self-talk or negative victim mindset or whatever it is. But it's not play on the power. It's not play on the positive. It's play on the powerful. So now when I actually swallowed fire with him on stage, he had me stomp my feet and say powerful and then eat the fire. So now it's imprinted.
Crazy.
Now it's imprinted. Powerful. And I used to think it was positive. And what I learned is, no, it doesn't have to be positive to be powerful. It just has to be what's best for my best future self. And so that gave me a new way of looking at choosing the frequency of words is also what's for my best, most powerful self. Right?
Yeah. I had to break an arrow on my neck at Anik Singh's mastermind.
Oh, you did?
I was so scared. And what happened was we would go in groups of people and the first group went and they did it. I'm like, all right, because I was going to back out, honestly. I was going to go to the bathroom and skip it. But then the second group did it. So I'm like, all right, I need to do this. So I ended up doing it and just felt so confident after.
It's like a rite of passage, but also you can trust yourself more because you're like, I did that. I accomplished it. And in front of people and with support.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of things.
That was the part I was scared of. It wasn't like the arrow hurting me. It was just the people judging me if I couldn't break it.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
And it's funny because you're bringing up judgment again, which I told you was that frequency of fear and not good. And one of the things I learned in this last eclipse was to actually do a 3-day ceremony around releasing judgment of myself and releasing judgment of others. Since then, I've done about 10 circle masterminds. And in each one, I said, one of the things I want to do is release judgment in this group of ourselves and of others. And it's been a real rite of passage for everyone, taking an intentional stand of being neutral in Switzerland rather than judging themselves and others. And it's so much more important to not judge ourselves because we're so much harder on ourselves.
Yeah.
But since the eclipse, which was just a couple months ago, I've really released so much judgment.
Wow.
I didn't know I had that much because I actually am usually a neutral person, I thought. But I noticed that I've been a lot lighter ever since I've had the intention of releasing judgment.
That's interesting.
And if I notice I'm doing it, I immediately undo it.
Yeah. When I'm speaking with friends or just anyone and I see them judging people, I'll try to like transition. But if they won't, then I'll leave the conversation. Because it's really harmful, actually.
It is. And, you just said a big, big thing right there. I'll leave the conversation rather than letting someone pollute it or even being in it. You're now protecting your brain and going somewhere where it's going to be better for you. And that is one of the things, Michael Singer talks about that too. Like our brain really wants to be calm. Really wants to be calm. So if we're adding ripples in it, which means anything we're thinking about, positive, negative, powerful, whatever it is, why not add the ripples in it of what you really want? And so you're protecting it by walking away from the conversation.
Absolutely.
One of the things Joe Polish says is every conversation, the person is thinking, I want more or I want to get away. It's always one or the other. And if they're leaning in and they want more, that's a great conversation. But if you know they want to get away, give them an out.
Yeah.
Give them an out easily.
For sure. Yeah. I used to partake in gossip and stuff when I was younger, but it's damaging.
It's not even worth our time.
It comes back to you.
It's such a waste of time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have 3 rules. I learned them from Lisa Nichols. 3 rules for all relationships, especially ones we care about. And the first one is nothing to protect. The second one is nothing to hide. And the third is nothing to defend. So when you're in your conversations, if you can stay there, nothing to hide, nothing to protect, nothing to defend, then you're in a really good place. As soon as it turns into like you're defending something or hiding something or don't want to say it, or that's when you know it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so my most healthy relationships, there's two things I do. One is we abide by that. Nothing to hide, nothing to defend, nothing to protect. And we talk about it. If someone's getting defensive, hey, wait, our rule is you don't have to defend that. How do you really feel? It's okay. You're safe.
Right.
The other thing is, just always trying to do your best, right? If you're really trying to do your best and you're working on doing your best all the time, then you're just going to do your best.
Absolutely.
And people will expect it.
Yeah. Lee, it's been fun. Where can people find you?
Let's see. We created a Go Ask Lee, GOASKLEE brand a long time ago because so many people ask me questions. And so goasklee.com is my regular website, and goasklee.com/connect is some free goodies there for people today if they would like. One of the things as I'm creating this IP and the patents and more trademarks and copyrights, I'm learning all of us need to start doing it earlier. My husband started his legacy planning in his 20s, my daughter in her teens. I didn't start to my 50s and it was way too late. And what I'm realizing is I want to bring other people along in starting their legacy earlier. So one of the things I'm putting in the goasklee.com/connect is top 10 reasons why to protect your IP. Start thinking about it now, because if you're writing patents or copyrights or trademarks, these are things that can live in your legacy beyond your life. These are things that can live in your legacy, in your company, in your family, in your community. And I'm learning them now at a higher level. And what I'm doing is sharing them with my community. And so I'd love to share them with yours too.
Love it. We'll link below. Thanks for coming on, Lee.
Absolutely. I love watching you share genius, bring people together, and just be your authentic self all the time. So thank you for sharing you. I love watching you grow up, and keep me in the loop.
I will. Be a fun weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. Check out the link below. See you tomorrow.